Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabadis of Delmar. We have two very special guests with us today. Here is my own son, Yisroel Simon, welcome.
Thank you.
And my grandson, Yehoshua Simon, and welcome to the Jewish View. Very good. Listen, actually I brought them in special because they lived not in Delmar, but in Kingston, Ontario. And so maybe give I call him Sruli, even his full name is Yisroel. What is the reason why you are in the middle of nowhere? I never even heard of Kingston, Ontario, to tell you the truth, until you moved there. Why did you move over there?
Well, this was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's dream, that wherever a Jewish person is, they should have the ability and access to the deepest, most complete parts of their tradition. And it's not enough to say, well, you can be a good Jew, a real Jew, or be fully involved with the community in an urban setting, in big cities, big urban areas where they have the proper infrastructure for Judaism. Well, so too, the people even in small towns should have as much access as possible. And with that in mind, he sent rabbis to small, remote communities for just the summer sometimes, if that was all they could support, or eventually a full-time rabbi that they should help build up Jewish community.
Excellent. So what's there in Kingston? What kind of Jewish community you have?
Well, we have an old Jewish community, but we work mostly with university students. So a lot of over 1,000, over 1,200 Jewish students coming to the university, Queen's University, and we're there trying to support all their Jewish needs in every way and form.
So where are they coming from? I mean, they're more Canadian
Mostly
students?
Canadian. The Americans who come usually have a Canadian parent and therefore are eligible for subsidized tuition.
Excellent.
But in Canada itself, majority from Toronto, as well this year there's for the last few years sizable from Vancouver, over 20, 30 Jewish students just from Vancouver.
What are they coming for? What's the specialty in the Queens? I mean, why would they want to come to there?
So Queens is probably rated as the 4th best university in Canada. There's not that many, maybe there's 15, but it's got good engineering, good nursing, good teachers college, good law and medicine, also an up-and-coming business degree, commerce. So they've got
things are going for them.
Yeah.
Now, really, Kingston, Ontario is in between, if you know your geography, which I learned also, is between Toronto and Montreal. And like you say, it's not the most sizable Jewish community. So we have here Yehoshua, my grandson, needs an education. And that means for a Jewish child goes to a day school. And what happened? How do you go into day school in Kingston? Where do you go?
We don't go to Kingston. We drive to Montreal.
How far a drive is that?
2.5 hours, 2:45.
All right. And so you stay there for the week? You don't commute. That's too much to commute.
Yeah.
You stay there for a whole week?
Yeah.
And you come back for Shabbos to make Shabbos with the students?
Yeah.
That's important also. So is it a good school? You like the Montreal Yeshiva? Oh, we have to get a little personal here.
I like it, but there's no real principles.
All right. Well,
he
you're
wants
learning.
more discipline, he says.
He needs more discipline? All right,
That's
then
what he
maybe you ought to
said.
come to Delmar. We'll give you discipline. In any case, but you're learning well, bottom line. And how old are you now?
I'm 12.
When are you going to be the bar mitzvah then? Of course, at 13.
Shvat.
Meaning around January.
Yeah, winter.
For people. So, all right, so you're almost there, another few months, and you're getting ready for your bar mitzvah. And how many siblings do you have? Can you
7.
count 7 siblings, and they're all going to the same school, or?
The girls go to a different school, the boys go to a different one, and the younger ones go to same school building, but a different name.
Nursery school, you
Yeah,
mean?
basically.
It's like a nursery school, so it's something a little bit different. There's a lot of commuting. It's cold out there in Montreal, isn't it? It's colder.
You get used to it after a while.
Yeah. Guess everybody lives where they want over here. I'm from Chicago, and they used to always, people still kid me that "Oy, it's so cold and it's so snowy." He says, "Well, listen, you manage. It's not such a big problem."
It's interesting because when the Jewish people got the Torah at Har Sinai, Hashem said, well, if I give you the Torah, which is this heavenly gift of not just knowledge, the blueprint of the universe, I want to make sure that you take care of it. What do you serve up as a guarantee? And Jewish people, it says in the Medrash, offered up all their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as guarantees. And God didn't accept that as a good enough guarantee that the Jewish people would cherish the Torah. Finally, they came up with our children as a guarantor. And finally, God accepted that. And we see the paramount of education of children in Judaism, education in general, literacy. But it's interesting taking that for when it comes to translating it to the Rebbe's mission of educating every single Jewish person. When it comes to, let's say, here in Kingston, Queen's University, it's not just the rabbi and the Rebbitzin, husband and wife team, helping to build a little Jewish bubble or a big Jewish bubble for the community and the students, but the children as well are an important aspect, or as important, sometimes even more important, as people see the children being raised in a Jewish home and are so impressed with that. There's also some videos of the Rebbe where a young couple was going off on shlichus to be a rabbi at some small community, and the Rebbe gave the husband $1 and the wife $1, the Rebbitzin, and the Rebbe turned to this like half-a-year-old kid in his mother's arms and like asked the kid directly. No, I think asked the parents and says, she's also going on shlichus, And they said, yeah, she's going where the parents are going. And the Rebbe gave her an extra $1 as well. Basically not just as an extension of the parents, but as an individual itself that has an importance and a function and is a real entity of being part of this, this teaching of Judaism. And I think on that point we can ask Shua.
All right.
Some questions as well about how he helps spread, and teach the students about Yiddishkeit in Kingston.
Well, you help set up for Shabbos, so you help your parents. How many students do come for about Friday night? I didn't ask you that.
Well, right, it depends who's counting. But usually the first semester is an average about 110, 120.
Oh, that's excellent.
So there's
like
a
10%.
lot of people, and we need all hands on deck when it comes to individual attention.
And so therefore Yehoshua is helping out his parents, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So how do you help out even more than just the physical, except setting up? How do you engage with the students?
I go around talking to them, asking them questions, giving them answers if they ask me.
I think it's important, one little more aspect where you're saying with kids, is that, college kids are, or let's say an average of around 20, and they're maybe thinking about, what kind of life and family life they're going to live in the future, which isn't too far in the future, in a few years. And they see the beauty of a Jewish home where there's a husband and wife working together and children that are all on the same page, which is no little thing. There's a high divorce rate, of course, in the world, number one. Number two, children go off on the wrong, extreme. So to see a beautiful family life, I'm sure, is impressive for a lot of these students, and saying, "Hey, I want to lead that kind of life also."
I think that's very true, because there's a lot of unknowns in general in life when you're young, and there's whether it's frightening, they're worrying about what's their job prospects coming out. There's a lot of worries people have, and one worries as well is what type of family are they going to have as such, and here they you see that there's a model of Jewish tradition, and together with that is shows their the beauty of the family, and that's being modeled, and they're certainly able to relate to that. I think there's also another aspect to it as well. It's like they're in this university bubble and they're interacting with maybe everyone within a 3-year age of themselves. Maybe a professor, some old professors who are 50, 60, but even that, they're not even interacting with the professors, but the teachers' assistants, which might not even be grad students. They might just be a 4th or 3rd year who's a teacher's assistant. So they're not really engaging with anyone. Maybe their parents or family or siblings over the phone as such. And then they come and they engage with, whether it's a newborn, a young child. I mean, there's probably every Shabbos dinner, there's a chess game going on between the kids and some of the older students. You even talk about, some students that come, like, I haven't played chess in 10 years, I used to be into it, went to group, and then they're like, I'm going to get back into it, I'm buying a book. And it's interesting that they're coming to the Chabad house, and they're really having the ability and opportunity to I won't say discover, but to interact with a different avenue of themselves, whether it's focusing on themselves personally and as a medium through and with the children.
Excellent, yeah. So you're important over here, Yehoshua. That is an important idea because, again, children sometimes say, oh, yeah, you're just a kid, you're not important. But, I just always see when, we have 13 kids, but people did relate to, the children, and it made them homely, warmly, an older woman would just say, hey, I remember my kids, they're grown up now, and now I can be part of a family again. It's a little difficult to see kids grown up and move out of the house. And like that, to hold a baby, or even to young people, they're told, look at the beauty of motherhood, of having a baby, which is the biggest thing in the world. Barbara Streisand, who produced films and music, says the best production I ever made was having a baby. So here's the most famous person, and just having a child. People aren't emphasized that way in the world. Get a career and make money and have a nice car and etc. And here they're saying, well, having a beautiful family and holding a baby that you produced is incredible pleasure. Like Barbara Streisand said, almost better than anything anything you can accomplish in the world. So it's important that they see kids, and nice kids and helpful kids, and they run around, and Yehoshua is so important. I want to tell you something, Dad. This is not the first time your father was on the Jewish View.
I saw him as a kid.
He was a kid, and he was really into sports. So I says, come on to Jewish View. He'd say how many years ago. Everybody knows I'm 29. But in any case, that he talked about all kinds of sports, statistics. I didn't know from that. He memorized all the statistics, and he knew sports. So you're into sports also a little bit?
Yeah.
Who do you follow there? I guess there's no baseball team in Montreal.
Baseball, hockey, football.
You have your special team over here?
Basketball, Raptors, football.
That's from Toronto, the Toronto team.
Yeah. Blue Jays.
You know who I follow? Whoever wins, I'm for. My kids no one can stand that.
Well, maybe you can tell us about some of the Jewish hockey players or players that you know.
Really?
Hockey, there aren't many, but there's Zach Hyman. He bounced around a bit. He used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, now on the Oilers, just an inch away from winning the cup.
Went to a nice Jewish high school in Toronto.
Really?
Chad. He went to where the students, like a lot of the Toronto kids. So he played competitively in high school. They were able to play with his non-high school team. So that way he was able to get his good Jewish education, but it didn't take away from his hockey development as well. I don't know the rules and regulations, but somehow he played for a different team, and he was able to continue his development like that. There's a few, there's quite a few. There's an Israeli, or I don't know how Israeli is.
Hughes. The Hughes. There's like four brothers. Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes.
Jewish?
All Jewish.
Really?
Quinn Hughes is a defenseman for the Canucks. Jack Hughes is, I don't know what position he plays, maybe left wing for the Senators. There's another brother, though.
Whatever. Where are they from,
I don't know. One of the best defensemen in the NHL is Jewish.
Oh, Adam Fox also. He
For
plays
the
for
New
the
York
Rangers.
Rangers, yeah. There's
Yeah.
lots of
Norris
But
Cup.
they say even in baseball, there's so many Jews. They never had so many, like 18 Jews. And I don't,
Oh, really?
don't ask me their names. I just saw the headlines in the Jewish news. But you know, well, Jews, usually they're not the sportsmen, they're the doctors and lawyers. But on the other hand, you know, that they can excel whatever they want to do. So it's always very special.
And it's interesting as well because this is another medium that that our kids connect with the students as well as it's taught that's this talking about sports. Students know that there's a conversation that my kids are always interested in, and there'll be whether it's hockey cards or baseball cards as well. It's just on the general topic of children. There's like an interesting 2 points because it's very revolutionary when we talk about some things we just accept as normal, that the children are our future, and how well as a society we educate our children. That's how they will produce the next generation, and and it's something which is well known. But we see already in the Bible, in the story of Exodus, Pharaoh one of the times he says, "Yeah, you need to serve God. Go serve God. Leave the children here." Right? If you're serving God, what can a child participate in such a thing? And Moses says, no, children are also necessary. And that's, so there we see the beginning of the paramount's. We see that children are an integral component in the Mount Sinai experience as well. But there's even an added element, which Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, which is maybe not so intuitive, and that is often we think the children are important because of what they're going to grow up to be in the future. And we need to educate them now, like as a means to the end of as an adult. And Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, based on a lot of sources, that this is true, but this isn't really the correct focus. And that because there's many stories of the Midrash as well, which is the whole world exists, the whole universe exists, just for the purpose. It was just on the back of children, pure children studying Torah before they even have a commandment to learn the Torah, because they're not adults, they're not 13. And based on this and other Jewish traditions, the Rebbe speaks about how the children themselves are an end of their own. They're not just for what they will be as they grow up. We're just we need to educate them. So later they'll be good, but this in of itself is even before they're an adult, even before they have an obligation of Torah and mitzvahs. This right now is there's a pure aspect, and I think that's also recognizable when the students, there's no real, I won't say ears, but also designs. There's just a sincerity, a purity that they say what they think, and you're not going to get too politically,
Well, the children are not like secondary. The Rebbe always said they're primary. It's important whatever they do. So that's an important idea for all the Jewish children. Well, tell us about, for example, let's go back to the older students, not the younger ones on campus. Are they having a true interest? I mean, you're saying 100 or 110 students come for like Friday night. They grew up in it, or they're searching for something, or they want to be with Jewish people and in a non-Jewish environment.
I think there's in general there's a mix. You have some students who came from a very Jewish neighborhood, and they say all of a sudden is their first real experience, even if they went to, let's say, a public high school, but it might have been 90% Jewish as such. So a lot of them, they're like, I feel like I'm a fish out of water, and I need to reconnect. And they come joining the Jewish, community, experience for that very reason. There's other people who are coming in and they're like, I know nothing. Now they're an adult. They're on their own. They're deciding which courses to take. They're deciding really how their education should be, and they reach out and they want to come to courses, learn about Judaism as well. There's another group who are like, I've been there before. I just want to be with the Shabbat experience, whether it's the community, and maybe not, they're just naturally gravitating to continue their Jewish experience. So there's a whole host of how people are on the spectrum, and we try to cater, whether it's specific programming for different people. There'll be some courses. We'll have a Hebrew reading course. For someone who never learned how to read Hebrew, doesn't know the alphabet, we'll have a higher level course, and as well. We study Talmud as well with the students for those who are interested. It's accessible to all levels, but sometimes are geared to where different places where they are on their journey.
There's another interesting aspect is just that intermarriage amongst the Jewish people is very, very high, and just getting together again socially, like you say, it doesn't have to be necessarily the same people playing chess together, but it just even on a social level, that itself is very, very important. That who's going to be their boyfriend or girlfriend, they're going to meet, if they're at your Chabad center, that they're going to meet another Jewish person, and who knows where that will lead.
And I think that's, even though they're not necessarily thinking marriage right now, but it is something which is on their minds to such an extent. Every time we do a dating and marriage course, it is as great appeal to a wide body. People want to know, first of all, how can I get it right, just even naturally, but also how to get it right Jewishly, and they're really searching hard for what it is they can do to get it right. In that aspect, we're actually going to be offering a 4-week course on Jewish dating and marriage, and because we usually do one lesson for it, so now it's going to be a little bit expanded, because this is something that people want follow-up for. This is a big interest as well. How can we take, because everyone to a certain extent, certainly they see our family modeled, and they're a little bit, they say, I want a little bit of that. How do I get a little bit of that? Because they look at society as a whole, and I don't think, secular society is really, marketing their model as a successful model. People don't see it as such. That this is what, you want, whether it's, eternal happiness with your spouse when the rates of divorce are so high. So people, so they say, they say and we know there's something good here. What is it that we can borrow, take, and learn from the Jewish traditional way? And so there's...
You're right. Well, you're right, because, at that point, sometimes I say, and people don't live, they're like kids in college. Oh, they're not kids, they're adults. But on one hand, they're just ready to go out into the world, and like you say, in a few years, or even a year if they're a senior, they're going to start thinking about building a home, and it's going to be on their mind, and who's going to tell them but you? So, people just don't talk about that so much or at all really in the public sphere. Who are you going to marry? How are you going to raise your children up? And people who think that have it in their minds that they have to pick out the right spouse with the right morals and ethics and the same values as they have, plus what's going to be for the future of raising up their children. And I don't know if people think about it that much, and that's why I really think there's a lot of divorce. I like you, you go bowling with me, and we had a good time. Then after a while, they're getting more and more mature and saying, well, there's more to life than just having a good time on a date. So it's important that, you deal with this head on right when they're young and they're susceptible to understanding what's really the values about that. Do Yehoshua? So tell us a few of the subjects that you're learning about in your day school. You're learning the Talmud, the Gemara?
Yeah, I'm learning Baba Kamo to the tractate about damages.
All right, very good. Well, I find that always very interesting, again, compared to secular studies. They're dealing with, this is really law. People only learn that in law school, those kind of ideas. You don't touch upon them so young. But again, there's very advanced learning, and there's the Talmud, and, teaching children to be using their minds and questioning and analyzing and using logic So that's very important. I know it's a big issue today in New York. These yeshiva students don't have the right secular subjects. But again, what is school for is to make you think and to analyze things. And surely learning the Talmud surely would do that. So that's important. What else you learning about?
We're Chumash. Right now, we skip around because we have a set thing that we learn every single year. And next year, we learn more. And almost every single year, we finish that early. So we just skip behind.
And just keep on rolling. Well, there's, that's what we say about, again, you're not going to go back to your second grade arithmetic book and read it again, 2 + 2 = 4. You already know that. But in the beauty of the Chumash in the Bible is that it's so deep, you'll learn it as a little child, Noah's in his flood, 3 years old. And then you'll learn it inside. And then you'll learn it with the commentaries like the Rashi. And it just goes on and on and on. And the Rabbi always has very deep insights into the Chumash. So it's something that you can just, like I say, not just learn once. All right, I got it. Goodbye. I got that. I'm not going to look at, again, my second grade arithmetic book again. But you take the Chumash and you take the Talmud, and it's a never-ending learning process because it is God's wisdom and it's so deep. So that's an important idea. You get a little taste of that also. And at your bar mitzvah, then you'll be putting on tefillin.
Yep.
So what are tefillin? You want to explain it for the people? We should have had you put them on the show. And they had a show and tell.
Basically, these boxes that you put on your arm and the top of your head that
Good.
have scrolls with stuff written in it.
Not just stuff. It's
Yeah,
about
it's-
going out of Egypt.
Yeah, and you wear them when you daven and pray.
You pray
Yeah.
every morning, but not on Shabbos and holidays, on
Because
Yom
it's
Tov.
supposed to be like a sign and more like it's just supposed to be like a sign and a remembrance. And on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you have a different remembrance. So we keep them separate.
All right, excellent. So you're learning something.
We should probably ask him.
Oh,
What does it
put him
mean
a test
to
right on
him?
TV over here.
What does it mean to him to become a man in Jewish standing during the bar mitzvah?
What does it really mean? Or
What does it mean to you?
To me, it means
Not like what it says in the book.
that I'm gonna have to buckle down a bit more to more things than I'm doing now, and really take life seriously because I'm a different person and I have to do different stuff. I have different expectations.
All right, that's excellent. That's what really means a bar mitzvah. A lot of people just think it's just a nice party, which you, of course,
We
will
say
have.
more bar and less mitzvah.
Yeah. Yeah, people have beautiful parties, but then they go away from Judaism. All right, I'm bar mitzvah, I'm done with it now. But again, having that kind of attitude, now it's time to grow and to be in a higher level. Well, we're almost out of time. Another minute. You have anything more to say about that, or we'll just conclude with saying you're doing great work on the universities, and it is in the middle of the boondocks. I know it's a beautiful city, Kingston, but Jewishly it's nowhere, and it's self-sacrifice, Mesiras Nefesh, to move not only yourself but your entire family out there to be with nowhere, and you have to do so much commuting, and for yourself also, who commutes at a young age, 2.5 hours, and then stay away from home like that. So it's very, very exceptional. You're doing God's work and the Rabbi's work, but bringing Judaism back to the Jewish people, to Jewish kids who don't have that ability. They wouldn't have anything without you guys. So therefore, that's very, very special. And not only should I thank you, but the Jewish people should thank you, and I'm sure the Rabbi is very happy in the work you do.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Yehoshua, for being on the Jewish View, and should grow and grow in your Judaism.